Universal Design for Learning is a really useful and innovative set of guidelines to further develop our practice to transcend the idea of the average learner. It recognizes that every person is unique in the way in which they learn, and therefore their learning processes are unique to themselves. Hence, a central tenet of Universal Design for Learning is the ability to make free choices and to evoke student agency. In the next slide, we are going to look at how this looks in real life within a module that I redesigned in light of COVID for an asynchronous online learning environment. For this module, we have about 400 plus students, all of which had no prior experience of asynchronous online learning. Hence, it was really important to have clear guidance and structure given to the students from the outset. To assist with this and to encourage multiple means of engagement to get their buy-in to the module, we developed Loop books, which are Moodle books. And in these books, you had, of course, the design and all this laid out, of course, clearly, but all of the assessment information was clearly available to them. There was also students enrolled in the module along the ISL pathway, the Irish Sign Language pathway. So it was really important to assist those students with video content and various content. So all video content had to be translated by ISL interpreters, but a fundamental principle as well of Universal Design for Learning and creating this inclusive learning environment is making all of the content available in multiple modes. So lectures were available via video, they were had a live transcript capable of being downloaded, as well as being available in PDF format. All readings, again, were all one click away, and every lesson ended with some kind of a study task that was optional. The seminars were an important component of the module, and in real life they were very practical and hands-on, and it was really important for us to create that practical experience. So we came together as a team and had conversations around the topic, but we also created these interactive lecture style slide activities where the students filled out the blanks, they went off and they reflected on particular aspects of the program that they were learning. Each seminar ended with a direction to a task to get them to engage in with a student discussion forum. Again, getting them to work with each other and having multiple means of expression and agency really being evoked. It was really important then for have diversity of voice. So I created these online podcasts called Conversations from the Classroom. And in these conversations, students encountered student teachers, well-established professionals, as well as other members of the educational enterprise within Ireland, various different stakeholders. In this way, we created a really interactive, innovative, and inclusive student environment that was very much grounded in the principles of Universal Design for Learning.
In March 2020, the COVID pandemic forced us to change the methodologies and tools quickly.
This work aims to describe methods and tools used in a fully online teaching environment, having to teach hands-on subjects such as freehand drawing in large classes.
During the lessons, we used two cameras. The first was the computer's webcam. The second was a top view camera pointed at the desk. This last camera makes students see the body's movement during drawing operations. This method allows all students to learn by seeing. The recorded videos are offline support for communication or exercises clarification.
The exercises submissions were made digitally in two ways: submitting the exercises made during the lesson time and submitting the exercises made as homework. Due to the difficulty of keeping students' webcams simultaneously on, class exercises help us engaging students during the lessons.
We used much collective feedback using online delivery and screen sharing. The collective review allows each student to understand their own mistakes. Several feedbacks are the best way for students to overcome their difficulties.
The quality of students' work has been as good as the classes that had attended the same courses in previous years. In some cases, the difference between the drawings produced in the first few weeks and those delivered at the end of the course was genuinely remarkable.
Overall, we believe that this experience could become an essential source of innovation, both within university teaching in general and in design teaching processes.
My name is Fiona Giblin, and I'm an assistant professor in education at DCU. The large class teaching and learning context, which my corresponding paper reports on, is the redevelopment of a flipped classroom that was required to move online for 436 students this year. These students were registered to complete an early childhood mathematics education module as part of their second year of the BEd Initial Teaching Education programme. The flipped classroom teaching model allows students to engage with content prior to class, so as to facilitate more interactive and experiential learning in class with peers and a faculty member. However, on reflection of iterations of the flipped classroom in previous years, it was apparent that the asynchronous pre-class activities lacked variety, as they primarily required the student to read material online independently. In an effort to support the diverse needs and learning styles of 436 students, the Universal Design for Learning framework was utilised to ensure that the student population within the large class could access and participate in the weekly flipped classroom comprising of asynchronous and synchronous learning experiences, facilitated through the use of digital instructional tools. For the purpose of this lightning talk, I am going to focus on the asynchronous component of the online flipped classroom. Here, students engaged with the weekly H5P presentation consisting of a variety of multimedia activities and tasks that were intentionally planned with the UDL framework in mind. For example, the content was presented by various representations of text, image, and video. An alternative option for auditory information was available in the form of closed captions and subtitles, and the students documented their learning through various means, such as quizzes and discussion forums. Additional examples are presented in my paper, which I hope demonstrates how the implementation of UDL, along with digital instructional tools, can support academics in the design of the flipped classroom for large classes.
Hello, this is María Ángeles Escobar Álvarez and Aurelia Carranza Márquez from Madrid, Spain, working at the Universidad Nacional de Educación a Distancia. We are presenting today our course, a final bachelor's degree project in 6 steps for large groups. We offer a MOOC that is a short online course available to anyone with a computer and internet connection. We attempted to help students acquire the necessary skills for the preparation, design, and writing of a bachelor's degree final project. The course guided the students using a scaffolding strategy through 6 main stages: writing a good introduction, applying literature review strategies, using guidelines for the design of the project methodology itself, and the description of results and extraction of conclusions. Finally, we help them include references and other types of visual content, tables and graphs. There was active participation since there were plenty of forums and self-assessment activities according to the course content. The reference is the link that we provided there for you to visit our course. Thank you.
A total of 1,422 students were enrolled in the first edition of this course. It took place last March. At the end of the course, we sent them a questionnaire so they could evaluate it, and we have some of the results here. We want to share them with you. 97.7% of the students maintained that the expectations they had about this course were fulfilled, and 95.6% said that they would recommend it. We also asked about some particular aspects of our MOOC, and the most valued ones in a 1 to 5 Likert scale were the video appeals, topics relevance, and the presentation of the course content. So in this sense, the methodology was a success, and we are very happy about it. Thank you very much for your attention.
Hello there, my name is Jamal Amar and I'm from the University of Sheffield. My paper, as you can see on screen here, is about facilitating collaborative problem solving with large classes online. And essentially this paper is about some reflections on my recent experiences of teaching online and teaching with larger classes and some of the adaptations I've made to activities and pedagogical approaches that are typically suited to smaller settings, active learning tasks, small group discussions and things like that, building on my own professional experiences. My background is as a pre-university teacher of mathematics, and coming into higher education I found myself trying to adapt my existing practices as well as picking up new approaches to teaching. The other side of this is, of course, that some of the changes to teaching approaches have been quite unexpected and quite rapid, as many of you will have experienced during the COVID-19 restrictions. And it's this experience that raised some unexpected points of reflection and an opportunity to read around this area. And two main points that I wanted to mention in this quick talk were that it was unexpected just how valuable some of these smaller group active learning tasks have been with large classes for supporting social interaction. Not just the academic value of these tasks, but particularly when teaching online. It's been really positive for some of these experiences this year, and some great feedback from students. And also that the process of not only adapting some of the tasks that I've used in the past for larger groups, but also for teaching online has raised some opportunities for further scaffolding, things that I've taken for granted, my pedagogical routines, how I manage a class in a face-to-face setting. I've had to make more structured and clearer on the guidance materials that I provide around these tasks, and those will actually feed back, I think, into face-to-face teaching in the future. So they're my main points of learning. Thank you very much to Anne-Marie and Anna for their support, and thanks very much for listening.
Hi, I'm Monica Ward from Dublin City University, and I'm going to talk briefly about how educational technologies can have a positive impact when we're teaching large classes. So the first and most obvious one is that we can share resources. So if we have a VLE, we can put our files and other resources there for students to access, and we don't have to print them out. The second one is online collaborative writing, and this is where students can use shared documents and work on projects together, so they can track changes, they can put in comments and whatever. And it's an emerging skill set that students really need to have. Another obvious benefit of education technologies is being able to conduct webinars. So obviously in COVID-19, we've become way too familiar with this, but even in non-COVID times, they are a useful resource to have. For example, a revision webinar for students when they're spread out over the country and whatever, and you want to do things there. I find them very useful for that. Another really useful area is online assessments. So from simply being able to get students to upload assignments to a VLE, that saves an awful lot of hassle. Also, there's resources like Turnitin or Urkund for plagiarism checking. We can give students extensions specifically for particular groups of students. It's easier to do group submission. We can check students' participation. So educational technologies really help when we're doing assessment in large classes. And then finally, I'd just like to mention quizzes briefly. So I know these can be much maligned, but they do have a lot of advantages, particularly for formative assessment. So it's good for students to be able to check their own knowledge. And as other people have spoken about before at this conference, that it allows the students will do it again and again and again until they kind of get 100 and they can repeat them. So it's very useful for that. Thank you.